Hi, I'm Robi, also known as ambroscrochet somewhere on the internet, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It's something I've been kind of dreading because I want to make a tote bag as a gift for a friend of mine who is a huge fan of BTS. So I want to make a tote bag that it's going to be BTS themed. So a tote bag with specifically some lyrics on it, and the lyrics are "You should be your light." The thing is, I've already made a tote bag with some writing on it, and I don't really know how I did it, in that I don't know how to predict the size of the bag itself, basically because my tension tends to suck a little bit. So because I'm not very consistent with my tension, especially because I want to use Tapestry crochet to make it, I'm a little bit afraid that I won't be able to do it, but one thing at a time. So I have some cotton and I have a 5mm crochet hook. Now I chose the black cotton to make the bag itself and the yellow cotton to make the writing because I thought it would match kind of like the meaning of the lyrics, and I thought it would make a nice contrast with the black. So this is my plan of action. I want to make the writing by switching colors, so I think this is technically going to be Tapestry crochet because I'm going to make the writing by changing colors, as I said. I think this is Tapestry crochet, I'm not 100% sure. I want to make a tote bag that's going to be 32 centimeters wide, which is I think about 12-13 inches, and 37 centimeters high, which is about 15 inches. And the thing is, I don't have much time, and because I don't have much time, I don't really have the time to check my gauge and basically check how big my stitches are so that I can predict how many rows, how many rounds I will have, so that I can kind of already plan the letters and all that. So we are going to wing it. I'm going to be doing it as I go, and maybe I'm going to figure out kind of like a very general formula that you can then use and apply for any tote bag that you might want to personalize. Basically, that's my hope. Otherwise, it's just going to be me screaming because I don't know how to do it, and maybe at the end I'll get something out of it, but we'll see. Also, I just slammed my thumb shut into a car door, so we're not talking about that, but that's why this thing is here. So let's get started. So as I said, because we're basically winging it, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chain enough chains that I get 32 centimeters. That means that the bag will be a little bit wider technically than 32 centimeters, but that's not going to be the issue of this bag, I can guarantee. And also, because this isn't difficult enough, Oliver is sleeping on my lap and he's very cute, so he gets to stay, but that means that I have to crochet sideways, which is not how I usually crochet, weirdly enough. But let's see how many chains it takes me to get to 32 centimeters. Okay, so it took me 50 chains to get to 32 centimeters. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to single crochet all around, and I'm going to increase this first time, so I'm going to be making 3 single crochets on both the first and the last chain because I need to turn around basically, but I'm not going to increase any more than that because I don't need the tote bag to have any depth to it basically. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to single crochet around, making 3 single crochets in the last chain and in the first chain. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so that is done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just single crochet around without increasing, without decreasing, without doing anything else, because my idea is I want the top and the bottom to both have I'm working bottom to top, sorry if I didn't tell you that, but I want there to be a black stripe basically both at the bottom and at the top, because I don't want the writing to be too close to the bottom or too close to the top, because I want it to be very clear. So that is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm kind of going to check my gauge, and I'm going to try and predict basically how many rows, how many rounds I will need to reach those 37 centimeters, which will also allow me to know how many stitches I have to make the letters, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do, just a few rounds of single crochets. I'll tell you how many just in case you're keeping track, and yeah, I'll be back with those done. Okay, so I'm back and I have the bottom of the tote bag, and to get to the 4.5 centimeters that I now have, I made 7 rounds of single crochets. So I'm not counting the starting chain, by the way, otherwise that would probably be round 8. So I just made 7 rounds of single crochets, and I have 4.5 centimeters of height right now, which means that to get to the 37 centimeters that I wanted, I will have to make 58 rounds of single crochets. And the reason why I need that information now is because now I need to plan how to make the letters basically. So I'm going to take my notebook, which needs to have squares. There is a word for it, but I can't think of it now, so it's fine. It just has to have squares, okay? So I have 58 rounds. I'm sure you can do this on your computer, but I like writing it down, so ignore me. So we have 58 rounds and we have 50 stitches when it comes to the width. Now, of these 58 rounds, for sure I will have to leave the 7 rounds that I've already made here. So basically right now I'm trying to see how I'm going to have to change colors to get the letters and how big the letters will be. Okay, so we have 58 rounds in total. But of these 58 rounds, we have the bottom 7, which will not be used to write, and the top 7, at least the top 7, because I want it to be, symmetrical. So I have to, for sure, subtract 14 rounds. Okay, 7 on the bottom and 7 on the top, which leaves me with 44 rounds that I can use to do the writing. And then I have 50 stitches when it comes to the width, but for sure I don't want to reach like the very ends, because then the letters would be a little bit unclear. So I'm going to leave at least 1 stitch on each side. I know it will be more than that, because I don't think there will be a word that's so long that it will occupy 48 stitches, but I will at least leave 2 stitches, so I have 48 stitches. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is very simply, I'm going to count 44 squares down, 48 squares to the side, so that I have a very one-to-one chart type of situation. I don't know if this is making any sense, but basically I want to have on paper what I will have with my stitches. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So I'll do that, and I will not include me counting squares in this video. So I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so now that I have a visual representation of all the stitches that I can use to do the writing, I'm going to basically map out all my letters, so that when I crochet I have the pattern already ready and I don't have to make it up as I go, so that it's going to tell me when I have to change colors and stuff. Okay, so the writing that I have to do is "you should be your light." I keep wanting to add "you should be your own light." I don't know why I have to remember that it's not there. So "you should be your light." I'm thinking I'm going to space it as "you" on one line, "should" on the second one, "be your" on the third, and then "light" on the last one, because that should make it pretty much even. So I have 44 rounds, which means that because I want to put the words on 4 different lines, it's going to be 11 rounds per line. So I'm just going to very quickly count that on the side and then I'll be back. Okay, so now that I have my 4 lines, I have to decide how high the letters will be, so how many stitches I will have to do the height of the letters. Okay, so I don't want them to occupy the whole line, because then or you know, the whole stripe, because then the letters will touch and I don't want them to. So at least 1 round, so basically the last one in each stripe, will have to be left completely black so that the letters and the words don't touch. Okay, does that make sense? So each letter will have 10 stitches when it comes to the height of them, because the last line is going to be completely black, so this one we will not use. Okay, so now we have the height of each letter, so we have to decide the width of each letter. So how many stitches wide will the letters be? So the thing is, as I said, I want to place them as you should be your and then light. So the longest word, or the longest line, if you will, is going to be your, because should and be your both have 6 letters, but be your will also have a space. So let's say I want to leave 1 stitch between each letter, okay, and I want to leave 3 stitches when it comes to separating 2 different words. That means that, and I'm going to make this as simple as possible for myself. So let's say I want to do you should, I'm sorry about my handwriting, it's you know, it is what it is, be your and then light. Okay, so when it comes to be your, if I want to leave 1 stitch between each letter and 3 stitches when it comes to the space between 2 words, it's going to be 1, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Okay, so let's remember that when it comes to the width, I have 48 stitches, but 7 stitches will be used to separate the letters and the 2 words. Okay, which leaves me with 41 stitches, and I'm starting with be your because it's the widest word, if you will. It's going to be the line that will occupy more stitches, so it's going to be the one that I'm going to base myself off of when it comes to deciding how many stitches I have width-wise for each letter. So I have 41 stitches remaining because 7 will be used for spacing the letters and the words. So 41 cannot be divided by 6, so I'm going to go to the closest one, obviously going down because I cannot go up, and it's going to be 36 stitches. Okay, which means that for each letter I will have 6 stitches when it comes to the width, so 10 stitches high and 6 stitches wide. Now what I have to do is I have to see if giving myself 10 stitches when it comes to the height and 6 stitches when it comes to the width is enough to make some clear letters, because obviously if you give yourself too few or too little, I don't think too few is correct, but if you don't give yourself enough stitches, enough space, basically the letters will not be clear and you can't really tell which letter is which. So we are now going to sketch out kind of like our letters. So I'm going to go to the 3rd line, which is going to be the one occupied by be your, and that's actually what I'm going to do. And by my calculations, if it's going to be 36 stitches occupied by be your plus the 7 stitches that we gave ourselves for the spaces, it's going to be 43 stitches in total, which means that from the 48 that I have 5 stitches left, so I can leave basically 2 stitches here is what I'm trying to get at. So I'm now going to try and see if I can write be your clearly by giving myself the space that I gave myself. Okay, I'm hoping something makes sense of this, but I don't know. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you what I do to come up with the letters, I guess. I'm sure there is a simpler way, but this is the one that I found. So I just give myself the space that I said that I have. So I have 10 stitches here and 6 stitches here. And let's say I want to see how I can make a bee, basically. Now I'm just going to mark with an X all the stitches that I'm going to change color in. Okay, so I'm going to start by, you know, tracing the easiest lines, and I want each letter to be at least a couple of stitches thick, I suppose, because you know, they will show up better than just, let's say, one stitch. So I know that that line is at least going to occupy 2 stitches, and then I'm just going to try and make a B basically. So I think this will work. Okay, so, and then you keep going basically, and you do it with all the letters, and you check if every letter is clear enough with the space that you have given yourself. Okay, if that makes sense. I'm gonna do that, and then I will be back. Okay, so I'm done. As you can see, I've managed to fit all my letters into the space that I had given myself, so it was enough space, so we're good. So now we just have to start, and I'm going to be following the pattern. You have to follow the pattern, or in my case, I have to follow the pattern from the bottom, and I'm going to be working like this. So the first round that I have is actually just going to be all in black, because it's going to be the bottom of one of the stripes. So we said it's going to be completely black, so it's just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch, and it's just going to be without any color changes or anything. So yeah, I think that's it. Or I just place the words so that they would be in the center of each stripe. And also, because I'm working in rounds, obviously you could avoid this problem by joining and just chaining one when you start a new round, but because I'm working in rounds, I'm going to be careful about not counting the stitches to see when I have to finish the round basically, but I'm just going to finish my round when I get to, basically, you can see it here. So I would normally just count, I have 100 stitches, okay, so I would just normally count 100, and then I'd say, okay, that's the first round done, or another round done. But now, because I'm working in rounds, the rounds tend to go further and further back, so I end up basically finishing around here, which obviously wouldn't be good for the words. So I'm actually going to finish the round each time right here, okay, right at the side of it. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So I'm just going to be making 1 round of black single crochets, and then I'll be back. I've just realized I forgot to make the tea, so I'm going to be making that right now. Okay, so I have my round done, and I finished it on the side, as I said. So this is where the fun begins, if fun is the right word for it. Okay, so I'm going to have to start right here. Okay, so we move on to the second round basically. So I am going to be starting here after my round of black single crochets. Okay, so I count, and I have to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 black single crochets. Okay, so I'm going to start by making those. Okay, now we have to change colors. I'm going to show you how you should change colors when it comes to Tapestry crochet. I'm sure there are better tutorials. I'm just going to show you, but if you want to check out different tutorial, go ahead. You don't need my permission, but I'm going to zoom you in just a little bit. Okay, so hopefully you can see something more than just 2 pixels on the screen right now. So I'm going to get my yellow yarn, and as you can see here, I didn't finish making my last single crochet, so I would finish it by yarning over and pulling through, okay? But we're not going to do that, because we are going to yarn over using the yellow yarn, so the color that you want to change to. And sometimes I use this technique for amigurumis too, because I think it makes for a very pretty color change, honestly. So basically what you do, sorry, I was talking, I didn't explain anything. What you do is you just yarn over, but with the yellow yarn instead of the black one. Okay, so you just make a little loop that you hook on your crochet hook, and then you just pull through the 2 hooks on your crochet hook. Okay, so you finish making that single crochet using a different color, specifically obviously the color that you want to change to. And then I have to make 2 single crochets in yellow according to my pattern. So I'm going to make 1 single crochet just in yellow. And this is where I have to be careful about my tension, because I tend to pull very tight when it comes to doing this type of color change, but I don't have to do that. I shouldn't do that. And then we have to make the second, in my case, you know, the second single crochet in yellow, but because I will then have to change colors again, I have to do the same thing that I did before. So I'm not going to finish making that single crochet. I'm just going to insert my crochet hook, yarn over, pull through, and then I finish making that single crochet, switching back to my black yarn, which is why you don't really cut the yarn when you change colors doing this type of thing, because it would be absolute madness. So no, this is a little bit too much. Okay, and then I have to make 3 single crochets in black. So I'm going to be working the first 2 single crochets. Oh, let me show you how to so basically you have to work using your yarn, or rather you have to work by not cutting the yarn, because as I was saying, like cutting the yarn every time would be a bit difficult, I feel like. So you just have to hide the yarn basically. Now how you do that is, I have to change colors now, right? So I change colors, I have to keep crocheting with the black yarn. So what you do is you insert your crochet hook normally, and when you insert your crochet hook, you want to make sure that the yarn in the color that you're not using, so in my case that's the yellow yarn, stays over your crochet hook. So you insert your crochet hook underneath the yellow yarn, which should come pretty naturally. Okay, and then when you yarn over with your black yarn, you want to make sure that the black yarn, so the yarn that you're working with, goes over the yellow yarn. Okay, so the yellow yarn stays underneath the black yarn, and then you yarn over, pull through, and when you pull through, you will see that the black yarn will automatically go under the yellow yarn. Okay, so it will basically lock the yellow yarn in place. It will wrap around the yellow yarn, and once you yarn over again, the black yarn has to go over the yellow yarn. Okay, so it just locks it in place and it hides it basically. So you can see here the yellow yarn is in between basically the single crochet in black, if that makes sense. Okay, hopefully that's a good enough explanation. Otherwise, you know, plenty of better tutorials for that. And I have to make 3 single crochets in total, so I'm going to be making the first 2 normally, and then the last one, as usual, has to be unfinished basically. So you just want to leave the last step to be made with the yellow yarn, because we have to change colors again. And I have to make now 2 single crochets in yellow, and that's it's you know, then it becomes pretty monotonous in that you just have to be careful about changing colors and changing colors when you should, and always keeping in mind that you change colors by making the last step of a single crochet in the different color, using the different color, otherwise the color changes will not look as sharp, if you will. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's difficult, it's just a little bit you have to pay a little bit of attention to it basically. And in my case, the difficulty comes from the tension, because I can already tell that I really want to pull on the yarn, because I'm afraid that the different colors will show and that it will not be as clear as I want it to be, but I have to resist that basically. So we're just going to be making the first round, and then there is really nothing else that I can show you, to be honest, because it's always, you know, it's the same throughout the whole pattern. So I guess I would see you once I have all of my writing done. I would say the only thing you have to remember is to just follow the pattern that you've made for yourself. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm going to be doing that, and when I come back it's going to be with the writing done. I might check in from time to time, but yeah, wish me luck, because I don't know if this will come out looking decent, so let's all hope. Okay, so I'll see you in a little bit. Sorry, I forgot to tell you something, and maybe I'll insert more clips if I think of things as I go that I should tell you, but when you get to the end of one line, so when you're done with the color sorry if you can hear Oliver, he wants to get into the room. So when you're done with the color changes for one round, you can obviously cut the yarn, or you should cut the yarn. It's actually better if you do, because that would be a little bit of a waste of yarn. So in my case, I can cut the yellow yarn because I don't need it until I get to this side again. So yeah, that's it. And I'm back. Okay, so now that I'm almost done, what I think. First of all, I didn't really keep my tension constant throughout the bag. So especially with the Be Your and the U line, I don't know why, I really tightened my tension, which kind of made me lose a few centimeters, which is why at the top you can see I have a few more rounds. Now, if this was a more noticeable mistake, I would have gone back and corrected it, but I don't have the time and I don't think it's that bad, okay? I think you can definitely tell if you pay attention to it, but it's fine. So I think one of the reasons why I felt the need to really tighten my tension is that I used two colors that are very high contrast, and while I really like the effect because you can really see the words, which I like, on the other hand it was very difficult to hide the yellow, which is why I felt the need to really tighten the stitches. So I think that's partly why. Partly is probably because I worked on this at like 5 a.m, so that's probably the main reason actually. But I think it looks good. I think it looks good. But what I did then, when I noticed that I had lost a few centimeters, was I really loosened my tension at the top, which is not something you should do, but I did it. So don't do as I do. But I loosened my tension at the top, which meant that the bag kind of widened. So what I did was obviously I could have gone back and just redo it, but I didn't. I took a smaller crochet hook, a 4mm crochet hook, and I made the last two rounds with the 4mm crochet hook instead of the 5, and that really helped. And honestly, I like it. I like it. So I don't think I need to go back and redo it. But what we have to do now is the handles, and sometimes you will see patterns in tote bags where you make the handle or the handles with the last few rounds of the bag itself. So you kind of make a little dip at the top, and you make the dip by not crocheting in rounds, but basically you stop at a certain point and then you chain one and go back. And I decided not to do that. I decided to make the handles separate from the bag itself. So this is what the handles are going to look like. So to make one handle, I made 5 chains, then I just went back, starting from the second chain from the hook, 4 single crochets, chain 1, turns, 4 single crochets, chain 1, turn, so on and so forth. And I did that for 62 rows, and what I got was a stripe that is 38 centimeters long and 3 centimeters wide, but that's before I single crocheted all around, so add 1.5 centimeters to that. And for the handle as well, I decided to use the 4mm crochet hook because I like that it's a little bit more solid. And what we're going to do is we are just going to sew it here. Obviously I'm not going to count the stitches right now, I'm going to count them once I have both the handles done, but you know, something like this, which I think makes the tote bag look like a proper tote bag, which is, you know, something. So I'm going to be doing I'm going to be making the other handle, and then I'll be back to sew them, and then we'll be done, which sounds incredible because I've been thinking about this project for about 3 months, so you know, better late than never. So I will see you when I have the second handle done, and yeah, good. Okay, so I'm back, and I know I've already sewn the handles. It was just a little bit more time efficient for me. Basically what I did was I just sewed the handles about 12 stitches from each side, and I didn't sew obviously from the, as you can see, I sewed from the third row. Okay, so you count 3 rows, and all those 3 rows, so the last 3 rows and the first 3 rows are going to be inside the bag, so that you kind of have a little bit more of a solid handle. And yeah, that's it. We made it. I'm honestly very happy with how it turned out. I think the writing stands out a lot, and I'm honestly, like, I'm very happy that I figured out how to work with my gauge a little bit better. I'm not, obviously, you know, not perfect yet, but that's okay. And I just want to make a few more tote bags now that I've made this one with, like, maybe different, you know, lyrics or anything else. So yeah, I'm just very happy with how it turned out, and thank you so much for I don't know, working with me, and hopefully you managed to get something from this video, some ideas maybe. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. Feel free to leave me a comment, a like, subscribing, that's always very much appreciated. Thank you so much if you watched so far. Thank you for subscribing if you have, for leaving a like if you have. It's all great, so thank you. And if you want to follow me on my social media, where you can also reach me if you need to ask me a question, or if you want to request a pattern that you might want to see, a tutorial that you might want to see, you can do that on my social media, which is somewhere on the screen probably right now, or in the comments down below. I think that's everything that I had to say. So thank you so much. I'll see you for the next one, and bye.